All right. Hello out there. Hello, hello. Oh boy, I've not been live in so long. Um, I've neglected this audience so bad that I'm sure most of you have moved on or moved differently. And I'm also doing very different things in life these days, and so we'll see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely going to start live streaming more based on who I am now, and we'll see what happens from there. So, for those who are new to this channel, I am Coach K. I have undergone my own rebirth experience to the point where I feel like we're always in the process of being reborn. And when I originally started this channel, I was a health coach. I um, had gone through a great weight loss journey. I was following Dr. Sabi's alkaline lifestyle at the time. And it was a great gift and benefit to me in that season of my life. That was 20, 2016 through 2019. So it was about 3 years that I was on that journey. And I had a lot of learnings through that process. Um, but I'm in a different place now. I have I don't want to use the term fallen off, but I have sort of fallen off with the healthy lifestyle I was on before. I'm inching my way back there. I'm inching my way back there, but I believe in being transparent and moving where I'm at. I don't regret it. I feel like now I'm much more just grounded in myself. I'm definitely a lot happier and just a lot more joy than I had before. And I had a couple things I wanted to talk to you guys about today, but I wanted to start by explaining where I was from then. I I don't plan to ever fully go back to the lifestyle I was on before. Right now, my goal is to find balance, but I'm more focused on my mindset and what's going on with me. And my hope and prayer is that as I continue to balance this, I will make better choices naturally around what I'm consuming and eating and my level of activity and all that kind of stuff. So I think all that stuff is going to work itself out. It's not something that I'm stressed about, but I did want to make sure that I mentioned that because I know that when I initially built this channel, it was based on cooking and recipes and things that I'm not doing anymore. I don't even cook for myself that much anymore, okay, which is part of the problem. Um, but but anyway, so I wanted to just kind of share my opinion and talk about a couple of different things. I just finished doing this really great podcast with these young guys in their 30s about relationships, right? So that's one of the things I want to try to get into before I drop off of this live. Um, and then also just, I don't have a lot to say on politics. There's a lot of people talking about it right now. But if anybody does listen to this, and you're still dealing with the kind of the aftermath of the election, maybe there's people in your circle that you're not really happy with right now, take care of yourself. you know um, take care of yourself. Turn the news off. Right there. I did that on Wednesday. One second. I did that on Wednesday. I just got a bunch of water all over me. I just stopped. I watched. The only other thing I watched was, I just had to watch The View. I had to see like what Whoopi's face would look like, what Joy's face would look like, what would they say, and it was pretty on par with what I expected. But other than that, no, I didn't. I haven't watched much more of the news, and it was I don't need to because I'm dating a political junkie, and he gives me a full download of any and everything. It's like listening to him is like a nonstop CNN. So I don't need to listen to the pundits. And then we also have this conversation over here. He keeps me informed, um, and I'll leave you guys with this one thing he said to me that was so comforting. And he said, "Oh, I knew that would help you out." And It's long and involved, but I want to share it here in case you don't hear it on the news. 70 million Americans voted for a woman who was also a woman of color. 70 million. She got more votes than Obama both times that he ran. She got more votes than Hillary. She got more votes than either Clinton. The problem was that her opponent got 4 million more votes than her. And before you get mad at your cousin who flipped and voted for him, it was the same people essentially. It was the same number that he had in 2020. So he didn't grow anything. The problem was she didn't get some of the Biden Republicans. So this is not a political, and never will be a political channel. But that's what was missing for her, is that some Republicans who voted for Biden the last time did not come out for her, because in 2020, when DJT, that's what I call him, got 74 million votes, Biden got 81, like smack down, right? And she wasn't able to get all those voters, but 70 million. So initially I was all like, oh, this is misogyny. And, men just can't stand the thought of a woman being in charge. Because that's that, we do tend to go back to those, those layers of ourselves, the race and gender and things like that. And we want to be mad at the 19% of black men, or 20%, whatever your number you're looking at, of black men who didn't vote for her. We want to be upset at, Latinos. And like, there's a lot of this division that the media is putting out there when they have access to the same data. People are entitled to do what they want. So I hope that in my sharing, that right there um, governs everything I do. Everybody can do whatever they want. They can vote how they want. They can love who they love. People have the right to choose how they want to spend their time, their money, exercise any point of power that they do have. And so while I choose not to associate with any of his followers, I can respect their right to do as they please. But I'm just celebrating that she got 70 million votes. And I feel great about that, because that tells me that a woman will be in the highest seat in the land one day. Yep. And possibly a woman of color. So I'm here for it. And moving on from that. So yes, I'm bringing this channel back. I'm going to be um, podcasting here officially, sometimes by myself, sometimes with a co-host. It's interesting. There is so much talk online these days about relationships. And I was married for a very long time. It's now been 2 years, yeah, almost 2 years to the day, since I ended my marriage. And I had no idea all this was going on. Y'all just been out here, it's just been a lot. Um, and hold on, while I'm doing this, I was going to share this out. See if I can share this out and let some folks know that I'm over here. Okay. All right. So yeah, so I have okay. That is done. Thank you for your patience with that. So yeah, it's been excuse me. It's been 2 years, and I just really didn't know that there was all this stuff swirling around. And the thing is, and this is the reason why I feel like my show is going to be relevant. Most of the people talking are in their 30s, which is a tumultuous time in many ways. Most of them have never been married. And so they're speaking from, so I guess these are what, 80s babies? Yes. Mm. Some call them the crack babies. I'm not going to do that though. But it's very funny to me that a lot of these people have never been married, but they're giving all this advice. Men are telling women what men want. Women are telling women what men want and what women want. It's just so much craziness going on. I would like to insert some wisdom, some tried and true wisdom. And just because my marriage did not work, it was not a failure, not for me. I learned a lot out of that relationship. And so um, I would like to share, that information, that wisdom. And one of the things that I'll be starting with a circle of friends is divorce. Um, how to know when you want a divorce. Let's start right there before we even talk about how to heal from it. How did you know your marriage was over? That is the top question that I would like to ask healed guests, because what we're not going to do is a ton of bashing, even though sometimes when you share the truth, people see it as bashing. There's nothing you can do about that. All you can know is your own heart's intention and whether or not it was your intention to be to bash your former partner. But in general, really, what was that moment? That you knew that it was not gonna work, because it's a hard thing to do, and that's why I get so annoyed when people are criticized for getting a divorce, because I don't know anybody that just was like, I'm out, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. No, that's not been my experience at all. These were challenging decisions. There were tears and tons of effort that went into trying to make that relationship work. You know, um, doing the best you could to keep pouring. Or there was a phrase I read in a book about how it was some they probably not together anymore, but it was some Facebook page that used to share so-called encouraging things about your marriage. And one post says something like, I know you're tired of changing the dirty diaper on that marriage. I know you're sick of it, but you got to get up and do it again. And excuse me, that's exactly how I felt. Like every day I was okay, let me get up and try to save this marriage again. Getting over a cold, excuse me. Let me try to save this marriage yet again today. And it is exhausting. It's exhausting. But what I've come to believe is it's not supposed to be like that. Mm-mm. So many people my age are living with the decisions they made in their 20s, and it didn't age well. And you have to ask yourself, is this how I want to go out? Okay, I made this decision because that's how I felt for a very long time. But is this it? Is this how I want to go the rest of my life? And I know for me, when I turned 50, man, everything changed. Everything changed. Um, I turned 50 in July of 2022, and asked for a divorce in November. And I had reasons and receipts, and he wasn't shocked. I think he was disappointed, but not at all shocked. And I just realized that if I have 5 days left, 5 years, or 50 more years, this is not where my body doesn't want to be here anymore. And I was afraid. It was the scariest thing that I've ever done. And I never realized until that point how much courage it takes to leave something that's not working. It takes a tremendous amount of courage, especially when you have children and you're worried about the consequences that they may face and how they're going to feel. And that's why so many people stay, you know, because there's comfort in not changing, even though that comfort is often actually discomfort. You're not really feeling good about it every day, but it's what you know, so you keep doing it. I will tell you that on this side, the first year after my divorce, um, I think a lot of people would have a hard time believing this, but I cried all the time. I cried all the time. I was shocked, because this was a person who I was married to before. We had been married before for 4 years and divorced, and I had a party when it was over and did all these things, right? But I wasn't crying because I missed him. I wasn't crying because, um, of the love that was lost. I feel at this point, I realized I was in a loveless marriage and didn't know it because of what I now believe and know love to be. That's not what was happening there. Um, but I cried from the death of the dream. You know, um, I will never have that moment where my children come in with their children and he and I are there greeting our, biological grandchildren and loving them together and noting, oh, he acts just like you, or all that is dead, especially because we don't get along. All that's dead. And so there was a lot of loss there. And it was so unexpected um, that sometimes I would be confused about why I was crying because I knew I didn't regret my decision. Um, which is why I can't stand some of the attacks that one of the celebrities, Tia Moreau, gets. She was in Sister Sister and something else, and she's been talking about mourning her divorce and or just the mourning process. And a lot of the men, especially, just in her comments, like you should have stayed where you at, because if it was one thing a toxic, I don't like to use the N word, so I'm gonna say ninja. You'll hear me say that. If it's one thing a toxic ninja wants, it's to validate his treatment of you and say that you should have stayed no matter what. Or just because you're having a rough time dating, that means that you should have stayed in a marriage that wasn't working. Huh? They don't get it. Somewhere there's a woman that they think should have stayed with them, even though they were not willing to treat her right. But, go figure. Um, and so two things can be true at once. And that's my point with that. Two things can be true at once. I woke up every day feeling weird. I'd been with this partner for, 15 years and 22 years in total. And I was suddenly by myself and I was mourning, but I also had the most incredible joy every day, every day, every single day. It felt like a weight had been lifted. It felt like I was in the truth of who I was. When I had my coaching program, and I would be on here doing these videos, and my family would be around, and everybody thought my family was so perfect. Um, oh, that might have been really loud. I probably sound a lot better now. But when this menopause, these flashes kick back in, I will be turning this fan back on. And so, I never felt like I was my authentic self. I just never felt like I felt like a weight was on me, like a wet blanket. And it wasn't directly about my ex as much as it was the unhealthy dynamic, the misalignment of the two of us, the lack of genuine affection and connection that is so important in a relationship. So when you're in that type of relationship where there's a lack of affection and connection and you're not aligned, there's so much faking that you both have to do, you know? Like people talk so much about faking during sex, but there's so much faking you have to do just in a day to day, especially because, you know, we had dealt with each other so long, had so much conflict in the past. I think we were both tired of it. Like in the last few years, there was wasn't a lot of arguing or anything like that. And that you have to fake it a lot. You have to keep your mouth closed a lot to maintain in a situation like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if, he felt the same, like weight lifted from him. But I know for me, it just felt like a weight was lifted. But by the same token, I still had the grief. And that's when I learned, oh, this is like a death. And so you grieve it in that way. And it's been, it's been a good healing journey for me. Last year was the bulk of my healing journey. This year, hmm, I can't really call it. I feel like in a way this is my comeback year, but next year is, I've had an abundance of good things this year. Next year is really going to be the completion of it, kind of me coming back outside, so to speak, and uh, walking more in, this phrase is so overused, but it's also still true. Just my authentic self, just being who I am. I've changed so much of myself, my views, spiritually, and that sort of thing. And so, um, I'm just a very different person, very, very different person. And I don't worry anymore, about what I might say, who I might offend, who likes me, who doesn't like me. Like that is so dead to me, is me being concerned with people who like me, and I just don't care anymore. And that's a whole episode in itself, is the people pleasing, wanting to be liked and thought well of. um I was 50 years old when I realized I was a people pleaser. Um, and I spent a long time being shocked that I never knew it. Um, I need to actually do some journaling on that before I can even present that to you guys and talk about why, um, I was, about me being a people pleaser, why I didn't notice it and that sort of thing. Um, but here's one thing I can think of right now. If I was going to make an important decision, I didn't trust myself at all. Okay. And that's a super long story for another day. But I didn't trust myself at all. So I always needed other people to co-sign if I was going to do something. Now, not with certain things for some reason, but there were a lot of times where I didn't trust myself. I think some of it may have been, without going into too much of it, may have been that I had made some mistakes. And so I was shell shocked by the mistakes that I made. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I needed other people to co-sign, and I had a little round robin I would do. And if I could get a certain number of people to agree with this, then it must be a good idea. I'm done with that. I realized that not only was it a people pleasing problem, but it was also a God problem, because if I trust the Holy Spirit to speak to me and guide me in all truths and the best path that's for me, it doesn't really matter what these five people think. Hmm. Because they're telling me things based on their perception of me, along with their own personality issues, projections, etc. So you can get advice from people, but only if you know how to take it with a grain of salt. And for people who are people pleasers, if that's you, I would urge you to take some time, put a moratorium on taking any advice. Don't ask it, don't seek it. If someone offers it, tell them no, thank you. You can go back to it at some point, but you need to get grounded in yourself first. Know what it means to listen to that internal knowing within you. Um, know what it means to listen to that voice first. Because if you can't hear that clearly, when you go to this counsel and you get this advice from other people, um, you're not going to know how to put it in the right place in your decision making, because you're not grounded in here, if that makes sense. Um, so anyway, I came on here just because I was feeling super, super chatty and excited after the relationship conversation podcast that I was just on. Oh, let me find the name of it. And I'll link it in the description as well. But the show is called, let's see here. Oh, it's not going to be in there. Let me tell you guys what that show was called, because I was open enough to listen. I think with the number two, open enough to listen podcast. Okay. And it was live streamed there. And you guys can definitely check that out, because it was pretty dope. I am 52 years old, And these guys were in their 30s. And it was so, for one thing, it was interesting to hear that, wow, okay, that was 20 years ago for me almost, but it's the same shit. Like everything happening. That's another thing. I have a potty mouth these days. So if you don't like that, you may want to click that unsubscribe because I'm not changing myself anymore. Um, but I was like, wow, okay, everything is the same. Um, well, except for one key thing. And this is actually pretty big. Um, a lot of the problems are the same, but I think that some of these younger guys are much more evolved emotionally than what I see in older men. Because when I was listening to them and the way they talked and the level of thought that they gave to their past relationships, yeah, I don't see that from men my age now. Um, there are so many broken people on the planet who are doing no healing at all and just out here, getting out of one relationship and going over somewhere else to wreck more lives. Um, but these guys are like they're on it. They want love. They want a healthy relationship. And it was very encouraging in that sense. It's just that a lot of the challenges were essentially the same. And they gave me great food for thought for my own podcast, which I would love to have them on one at a time to share from their perspectives. I learned that men need to be listened to, yes, but they don't communicate the same way that we do. And for women, if you're not communicating the way we do, then you're doing it wrong and we're not really listening. And that was a big takeaway for me, is men need attention and respect, but those two things need to be given in the way that a man receives the information. um, it needs to be given in the way that they receive it, and women are giving it in the way that women give it. And then if they don't get it, then they're the problem. And so, listen, anything I talk about, whether it's a live stream or on the podcast, I'm also going to be touching a lot on things that women can do better and differently, because we can only fix ourselves. And the better you fix yourself, the better you'll be able to recognize a good partner, get rid of a bad partner, grow in your career, and grow in your life in general. Is by learning how to do things differently. Uh, if that's your interest and desire. So anyway, I think I'm talked out, which is a rare thing. I think I'm talked out, but as I seek to build this channel back up again, feel free to leave me comments and let me know, what you're dealing with in your life in terms of relationships, your career, etc. I will definitely be sharing career tips. I have been building my career up since the 90s. I've gone through a lot of change, a lot of layoffs, and advancing myself and promotions and things. And there's a lot of things that I would love to share with women of all ages around how you can, move forward in those areas as well. And so, in addition to my career success, and my career is in a great place right now, I'm also a two-time homeowner, and I am parenting, solo parenting. I'm aiming to move away from the term single parenting, but I am solo parenting um, a 13-year-old boy, which is fascinating. And that might deserve its own attention at some point. And I'm going to get back to my healthy living. I am. And so there may be times where I talk about that. I'm planning right now to do a high raw vegan 10-day with a girlfriend of mine, just together. We're just going to have a good time with it. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do that and not have the responsibility of also coaching, people online. I can just focus on myself and really get myself back into a place of full self-love, which includes what I'm consuming. But I may never be fully plant-based again. I'm not plant-based now. So if anybody's going to be offended by that, I want you to have the real me before you decide to give me your time, because that's what this is. It's an investment of time. It's my time and it's your time where we come together. My focus is on improvement of myself. I've always been a sharer. And so I feel like after this hiatus where I've been away and kind of been hidden, it's time for me to start sharing more with the planet. And those who it's for, they're going to come in naturally. I'm not getting ready to do a whole lot of crazy stuff to try to boost up my followers and follow the algorithms and all that. I believe that whatever is divinely mine is going to come to me. My responsibility is to be ready, to be prepared, and to be in a healed place so that I can share good information and receive good information from you. So I hope you'll tune in. This was not planned, and I don't think live streams are supposed to be. I'm not going to let that hold me back anymore. I felt like, hey, I put my makeup on, so let me go ahead and do a live stream and just start touching base with this audience again. And I hope you'll tune in. I don't have a date yet on when the first podcast episode will drop, but I am going to be doing more live streams and coming to you guys more this way. And so let's get to know each other. So drop something in the comments if you watch this, and let me know what types of things you are dealing with in your life. Like, what is the top problem in your life you wish you could solve, and things like that. Anything you have going on that would help me figure out how to build topics, bring the right people in who are going to share things that will really be beneficial and fruitful to you in your life journey. All right. And then I'm going to leave you all with this. Well, one quick thing on the spiritual thing. One thing we will be doing, or I will be doing on several of the episodes, is showing specific things that have helped me heal and move forward in my life, and tools I've learned. And one of them is breath work, and meditative practices that, people who aren't into it think it sounds crazy, but baby, nothing will pull you together like dropping into silence, taking some breaths, etc. So we're going to do things like that, either at the beginning or end of every, and maybe both of every single episode. We will be doing that, and my hope over time is that it creates a new practice in you that you're able to use when you need to calm yourself down or just remove some of the confusion from your mind and think clearly. We'll do that. But everything I'm doing now is with this simple motive that I heard someone say in a video, about, when you're living a certain life and you're not happy with it. I think that I wake up every day now keeping in mind that we get this one life, you know, and we die at the end of this, you know, and you don't know how much time you have left. I don't know how much time I have left. And every day should be spent with a little bit of consideration to that. You don't know when it is. Are you living the life that you really want to live? Are you living the life that you think you should be living? And if not, why not? And what are you going to do about it? I want to challenge you with that today. I want to challenge you with that every single time I appear before you. What are you doing? What are you going to do to get the life that you deserve? You waited a long time to be grown, right? I was a kid. When I grow up, I'm gonna do da da da. You waited a long time. Now you're here. What are you doing with it? It's up to you. There's no more excuses. You can control yourself, even if you can't control anything else. So, with that, I am signing off. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it all the way through this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.